China, hidden cave dwellings and burial mysteries. Two 10th-century brick towers stand atop isolated rock pillars with no confirmed access route. The engineering is real, but several cave and burial legends still lack archaeological proof. Across remote China, cliffs have been cut into sanctuaries, ridges crowned with fortresses, and dry earth hollowed into rooms. Stone and timber can survive for centuries. The stories attached to them often change much faster. I am drawn to that gap. Tool marks, pigments, foundations, and written records on one side. Sacred origins, hidden chambers, and unusual burial claims on the other. In this video, we examine where the physical evidence holds, where reconstruction begins, and why uncertainty remains part of these places' power. One tunnel broke a winter barrier, but it also accelerated every outside pressure on a secluded valley. Opened in 2014, the roughly 7-kilometer passage through the Khyunglung Mountains in northwestern Yunnan made year-round road access far more reliable. Before that road, Dulong communities relied on steep trails, suspension crossings, and pack transport. Supplies had to be accumulated before winter. Snow could close the mountain route for months. Monsoon rain, swollen rivers, and landslides interrupted movement in other seasons. Isolation reached into ordinary life. Medical emergencies moved slowly, school and construction materials arrived late, and farm products struggled to reach outside markets. The tunnel changed that equation with one blunt act of engineering. It cut beneath the snowbound barrier rather than climbing over it. Journeys once governed by weather and several difficult stages became possible by vehicle. Yet the tunnel did not stabilize the mountain. Heavy rainfall and unstable slopes still damaged the road approaches, forcing continuing maintenance. Extreme elevation changes compress subtropical forest, temperate habitat, and alpine ground into a narrow region. That vertical range supports exceptional biodiversity while keeping transport exposed to harsh terrain. More reliable access brought telecommunications, health services, tourists, manufactured goods, and building materials. Local products also gained wider markets. It also exposed the Dulong homeland to faster cultural change. House construction and farming shifted, packaging waste increased, and the local language came under greater pressure. Older Dulong women with traditional facial tattoos preserve a highly visible cultural practice. Its historical meanings remain debated, so no single dramatic story should be mistaken for settled evidence. The tunnel ended seasonal isolation, not uncertainty. Its benefits are measurable, while the cultural changes it accelerates are still unfolding. A Tang-era relay route reaches the floor of a limestone chasm, but its famous wooden station is modern. Nearly 300 meters below the surface, Tianfu occupies a route associated with a relay station founded in the year 619. Under Tang rule, official post stations kept state messages moving. Couriers received fresh horses, food, shelter, and a controlled handover point. Here, people and animals could cross only through a few workable corridors. A dependable stop was infrastructure, not comfort. The original station did not survive. The compound, now called Tianfu, was built in 2006 for the film Curse of the Golden Flower. Its timber looks old, but it is not historical proof. That distinction unlocks the site. The deeper structure belongs to water and limestone. Weekly acidic rain entered fractures and widened underground passages. Collapse, river incision, and continued erosion opened deep depressions and gorges beneath the Qianlong, Qinglong, and Hailong natural bridges. Those walls restrict direct sun and hold cool, moist air. After rain, cliff water drains, mist settles, and moss grips shaded stone. The narrow opening channels airflow through the sinkhole. Nature did not surround the road. It controlled where the road could exist. Modern access uses paths, stairs, elevators, and visitor transport. The descent still exposes the burden once carried by horses, couriers, and official messages. I keep returning to the same divide. The Tang transport tradition is documented, the karst corridor is physical, and the old-looking inn is reconstruction. Tianfu is most compelling when those three layers remain separate. The film set need not become an ancient relic. The chasm and route already carry history. A convenience store hangs where an ordinary delivery becomes a climb. Its floor covers only about 2 square meters, fixed beside a protected route in Hunnan's Xinyuzhai National Geological Park. The Via Ferrata uses steel cables, metal footholds, ladders, and platforms. Climbers remain in harnesses and shift their safety attachments forward as the cliff dictates every move. The hut began as a rest point. Now one worker hands out water and limited provisions to climbers who cannot simply leave the protected route. There is no road, lift, service passage, or storeroom behind the wall. Every bottle must arrive by muscle. Staff carry small loads along the same exposed hardware, with delivery weight pulling against balance and attachment discipline. Stock must be tied down. Packaging and tools cannot be allowed to fall. Empty containers and rubbish make the reverse journey because the cliff offers no shortcut for waste. Weather holds the real authority. Rain slicks rock and metal, wind destabilizes carried loads, and thunderstorms can close a route threaded with steel. Even a sail changes movement. A pause at this tiny counter can compress visitor flow where passing space is scarce. Water has reportedly cost about 2 yuan a bottle, and workers have sometimes handed it to visibly exhausted climbers. That detail cuts through the novelty. The novelty resolves into labor. Trained workers manage controlled loads, judge the weather, and carry every empty container back down the exposed route. Weight travels through a stone arch before Qiaolu Hall can appear to hang over Khyunglung Mountain's chasm. At Khyunglung Mountain in Hebei, Qiaolu Hall stands on the narrow platform above an arch bridge, fixed between opposing rock faces. The arch drives weight into abutments on both sides. Above it, the timber hall controls its load where level ground barely exists. This is not architecture escaping gravity. Masonry, stable rock contact, careful weight, and repeated repair keep the structure usable. That logic governs Fuqing Temple. Courts occupy shelves, stairs, track ledges, and each building accepts the cliff's limits. The religious history is long, but the fabric does not belong to one age. Individual buildings were reconstructed in different periods, so every claim of age needs care. Local tradition links the mountain to Princess Nanyang of the Sui dynasty. The story gives the ascent a pilgrimage frame, but it cannot date timber or prove an episode. I find the legend compelling precisely because the bridge needs none of it. Its joints, abutments, and repairs provide the harder record. The cypresses demand the same restraint. Roots enter fractures and seize small pockets of soil and moisture. Drought, wind, and poor nutrients twist the trunks and compress the crowns. Some trees are said to exceed 1,000 years. Without scientific dating of each specimen, that remains tradition rather than evidence. Inside, a large wooden repository for Buddhist scriptures rotates around a central axis. It moved many sutras as one object and carried ritual meaning for worshippers unable to handle every text. The hall appears to float. Beneath it, stone, timber, roots, and repeated repair keep the sacred complex in place. One of Tibet's oldest royal stories now occupies a building largely reconstructed in modern times. Much of Yumbulagang was destroyed during the Cultural Revolution, and the rebuilding was completed in the early 1980s. Its position predates the rebuilt walls. Yumbulagang grips the narrow crest of Tashitsere Hill above the Yarlung Valley, an early center of kingship and agriculture. Tradition calls it Tibet's first palace and links it to Nyatri Tsenpo, the legendary first king believed to have descended from the heavens. That claim is cultural memory, not a verified building record. Other accounts place Tibet's first cultivated fields in this valley and say grain arrived through supernatural force. The irrigated ground is real. The miraculous delivery cannot be tested. Yet the hill itself supplies hard evidence for political value. From the crest, movement through farmland, settlements, and valley routes could be watched, while the steep approach restricted access. The compact building rises in stages to a tower-like upper section visible across the valley. Its height announced control long before modern promotion. Later tradition also connects Yumbulagang with Songtsen Gampo. Over time, chapels, Buddhist images, and ritual rooms changed a royal emblem into a religious one. Rebuilders used surviving traces, historical descriptions, and traditional Tibetan forms. Much of the standing fabric, however, is modern. The steep path and stone steps still impose the ridge's original logic. Elevation narrows movement, and control begins with access. Below, irrigated fields cut sharply against dry slopes, exposing the valley's practical wealth. I remain drawn to Yumbulagang, but the evidence demands a clear label. Ancient strategic ground, inherited royal and religious memory, and a modern reconstruction standing above the fields. A dark pupil appears to move in a basin where almost nothing grows. In western Qinghai, mineral-rich water and gas rise through one central vent, staining pale ground red, orange, yellow, brown, and white. From the air, those bands resemble an enormous eye. That resemblance has supplied the names Eye of the Earth and Devil's Eye, but a name is not an explanation. At ground level, symmetry breaks apart. Water bubbles through stained soil, mineral crust forms around wet patches, and sulfur compounds load the air with a rotten egg odor. The force comes from below. Pressure drives groundwater and gas upward, and the outflow then follows small channels rather than perfect circles. In the dry air, the spreading water cools, meets oxygen, evaporates, and drops its dissolved load onto the basin floor. Iron-bearing compounds can oxidize into red and orange forms. Pale salts gather where evaporation is strongest, while sulfur minerals and other deposits widen the broken bands. The center never settles because gas continues to escape and water continues to rise. What looks like a living pupil is pressure made visible. Yet the colors invite claims that outrun the samples. Without site-specific testing, the exact role of each mineral, or of organisms able to tolerate them, remains uncertain. The water offers no relief in this dry country. Its mineral load makes it unsafe to drink, and the same chemistry restricts ordinary plant growth around the vent. Akin is often called geothermal, but the surface cannot reveal its source depth, underground root, or the exact contribution of heat. Those gaps are real. Folklore does not close them. That is what holds my attention. The eye is a nickname, the moving vent is evidence, and the unseen underground route remains an honest mystery. A valley that resembles a mountain fortress was shaped without a single mason. At roughly 3,000 to 3,300 meters, 4 Tibetan villages in Gansu's Gannan prefecture occupy separate levels inside a ring of steep limestone peaks. The name Jagana is often read as stone box. The image fits, but those walls are geology, not masonry, formed by uplift, fractures, water, and long weathering. Dongwa, Yeri, Dari, and Daiba do not form one compact settlement. Roads and older paths bind houses, monasteries, barley plots, forest, and high pasture across the slope. That spread follows hard terrain, not a village plan. Level ground is scarce, sunlight varies sharply, and streams drain through narrow exits. Families answered those limits with a hard balance. Highland barley below, then yaks, sheep, and horses on seasonal grazing land above. Forest supplied timber and fuel, but every cut and cultivated patch carried an erosion cost. The cliffs therefore preserved more than isolation. They enforced a farming and herding economy in which movement, harvest, and building all followed the available ground. I find that physical record more compelling than any embellished tale. Jagana's real achievement is endurance inside land that offers little room and punishes careless use. Modern roads broke the old barrier. Guest houses, restaurants, parking areas, and tour vehicles now bring cash and alternatives to fieldwork. Tourism brings real income, but it also redirects labor and land. Fields and herds lose hands, while timber and stone homes face pressure to give way to larger commercial buildings. More traffic raises water demand, waste, and congestion. New construction also spreads across slopes where erosion has always set the limit. The stone box still applies pressure. The honest test is how much working land and traditional housing remain as tourism succeeds. An oasis is being defended with walls no higher than a hand. Between the Badain Jaran and Tengger deserts, workers press straw into open dunes, even as summer sand surfaces climb past 60 degrees Celsius. Minkin is a terminal oasis in Gansu, fed by the Xiang River network and groundwater. Rain is limited, evaporation is severe, and every field draws from a narrow reserve. For generations, that reserve supported crops, livestock, and communities tied to the wider Hexi corridor. Modern irrigation expansion placed it under heavier strain. Upstream withdrawals and broader irrigation lowered groundwater. Vegetation thinned, exposed soil widened, and wind gained more loose material to carry. During strong dust storms, daylight can turn orange and visibility can collapse within minutes. The advancing sand is dramatic, but it is only the visible front. The checkerboard is brutally simple. Workers push wheat or rice straw into the dune by hand, building a grid of low walls across exposed ground. Each wall cuts the wind close to the surface. It reduces the air's power to lift grains and catches sand already moving. This is not a permanent barrier. Straw breaks down, so the grid buys a short period in which drought-tolerant shrubs and grasses can take root. If those plants fail, labor returns to repair or replace the lines. The engineering works only when maintenance and biology hold the same ground. Shelter belts, grazing controls, efficient irrigation, groundwater limits and regional water transfers widen the defense. They can protect selected farms, roads, and settlements, but they cannot manufacture rain. The simple battle story obscures the record. Sand pressure grew alongside water use and vegetation loss. Minkin's decisive structure is the water beneath the grid. Once straw decays, only living roots can hold the ground. A cavern built mineral by mineral can be altered by a single crowded day. Jijin Cave's managed route runs about 6.5 kilometers, while visitors add heat, moisture, and carbon dioxide to chambers formed over immense spans of time. The builder is weakly acidic rainwater. After absorbing carbon dioxide from soil, water enters cracks in limestone and slowly widens them into passages and halls. Later, mineral-rich water reaches air-filled chambers and releases carbon dioxide. Calcite remains behind, drop after drop. Ceiling deposits lengthen into stalactites. Material gathering below rises as stalagmites. Where the two meet, a pillar locks ceiling and floor together. Flowing water does different work. It spreads calcite across walls and slopes, building curtains, shields, rimstone, and broad sheets of flowstone. Small changes in drip rate, mineral load, airflow, and surface angle produce the cave's dense variety. No folklore is needed to explain the mechanism, but scale still leaves room for wonder. The silver rain tree rises about 17 meters. Its thin branches make it one of Jijin's signature formations and one of its most physically vulnerable. That vulnerability cuts through the fantasy of permanent stone. Many formations grow so slowly that a stain or break cannot be repaired on a human timescale. Paths and barriers keep soil and hands away from delicate calcite. Lighting is controlled because warmth and artificial light can feed algae and other growth that discolor the rock. Crowds exert pressure without touching anything. Their heat, moisture, and breath temporarily shift the cave atmosphere, so visitor numbers and environmental conditions must be watched together. Global Geopark status recognizes its plateau karst record. The evidence is stronger than legend. Jijin remains active, and human presence has consequences. A road that now draws crowds began as a hard answer to isolation. For more than a kilometer, it cuts through a Tai-hung cliff, where a village once depended on an exposed stone path and stair route. Everything moved along that approach: food, tools, farm goods, building material, even residents needing medical care. The mountain controlled the village because the mountain controlled movement. In 1972, villagers began cutting through that barrier from inside the rock. Accounts commonly identify 13 principal workers backed by the wider community. Hammers, chisels, drills, and limited blasting opened each working face. Broken stone still had to be cleared with basic tools, meter by meter. The passage opened in 1977, about 5 meters high and 4 meters wide in many sections. That was enough for vehicles, not for easy two-way modern traffic. Its rough wall openings are often treated as scenic windows. Their first duties were harder: admit air and daylight, create extra access, and give rubble a route out. Uneven spacing and chipped edges matter. They record construction decisions made under pressure, not the finish of a polished design. I find the documented achievement stronger than any heroic embellishment. The evidence lies in the dimensions, the rough stone, and the practical shape of every opening. Once traffic could pass, access to markets, schools, medical care, and building supplies improved. The tunnel weakened the cliff's grip on daily life. Tourism followed the road it did not create. Buses, private cars, pedestrians, noise, and queues now crowd a passage built for essential village access. Now drainage, loose fragments, blind bends, and mixed traffic demand constant management. The road broke the village's dependence on the exposed path. Success created the harder task of keeping its narrow passage useful. One of Tibet's largest cave concentrations is not a city of painted temples. Across the Pyangdonga landscape, roughly 1,000 chambers were excavated, yet only part of that total contains decorated Buddhist sanctuaries. Some cells are too low to stand in and too short to lie fully extended. Their dimensions held the occupant in a seated posture. Small volume also meant less rock to cut and less cold air to warm. In this high-altitude climate, discipline and engineering pressed in the same direction. Elsewhere, the walls carry mandalas, Buddhist figures, donor images, statues, mineral pigments, decorative borders, and gilding. The art records contact among Western Tibet, Kashmir, India, and Central Asia during the Buddhist revival associated with Guge. Dry air, darkness, and limited exposure protected some colors, but preservation is uneven because the sandstone that yielded easily to tools also cracks under wind and water. Moisture enters fractures, salts move through the wall, painted plaster separates, and unstable roofs add pressure from above. Past smoke, dust, touching, and uncontrolled entry add damage at human scale. Every opened chamber creates a conflict between access and preservation. I resist the popular label Dunhuang of the roof of the world. It advertises the quantity of art, but it can flatten Pyang into a copy. The evidence supports a stronger identity, a Western Tibetan religious and residential landscape built from local sandstone, severe cold, disciplined meditation, and cross-Himalayan exchange. Its cramped cells and vulnerable paintings give Pyang a more specific identity. Guge-era belief, shaped by labor, severe cold, local sandstone, and cross-Himalayan exchange. A sandstone cliff became both a sanctuary and an imperial claim. Across about 1 kilometer west of Datong, More than 250 caves and niches hold over 50,000 Buddhist figures. Major work began around the mid-5th century, when Datong was the Northern Wei capital of Pingcheng. This was religious work driven by state power. Following an earlier suppression of Buddhism, renewed imperial backing placed the monk Tanyao over 5 great caves. Their colossal Buddhas carried religious meaning, but they also tied Northern Wei rulers to Buddhist authority. That political purpose matters. Monumental faces attract legend, yet the stone already carries a documented message. The dynasty was making power visible. Later caves packed the cliff with carved columns, painted ceilings, musicians, celestial figures, donors, and dense ranks of smaller Buddhas. Some interiors even copied timber buildings in stone. The forms had traveled through India and Central Asia, then changed in northern China. Clothing, faces, ornament, and architecture were recut for a new court and a new imperial identity. I find that exchange more compelling than any tale of isolated genius. Yungang was not a passive copy. It absorbed distant religious forms and made them serve local rule. When the court moved to Luoyang, late in the 5th century, imperial support at Yungang fell. Officials and private donors continued the work into the early 6th century, but the great state-driven phase had passed. Bare sandstone now hides part of the original force. Surviving pigment proves that many chambers once carried far more color. The stone remains under pressure. Rainwater enters the rock. Frost, salt, wind, coal dust, and industrial pollution press against irreplaceable surfaces. Drainage and monitoring now defend the carvings. At Yungang, evidence sharpens the mystery by revealing who commanded the stone and why. At more than 3,000 meters, ruined walls show why brutal mountains can increase control rather than weaken it. From Tashkurgan Stone City, guards could watch river channels, grasslands, caravan approaches, and routes towards Central Asia, the Karakoram, Kashmir, and the Upper Indus. The peaks did not stop movement. They compressed it into a few valleys and passes, turning this exposed rise into a checkpoint over the high plateau. Successive powers could monitor travelers, defend the settlement, support envoys, and draw resources from trade. Geography supplied the advantage. Walls turned it into control. What remains is rough masonry bonded with earth, gateways, raised compounds, and traces of inner and outer defenses. It is firm evidence of construction, but not of one simple date or ruler. The hill was occupied, repaired, and rebuilt across a long span. Assigning every visible wall to one ancient kingdom or dynasty pushes certainty beyond the ruins. Timber and compacted earth have largely vanished, leaving foundations and broken wall lines. The fortress now looks more skeletal than the working stronghold once was. The surviving walls remain under pressure. Wind, frost, rain, and severe temperature swings loosen masonry and round exposed wall tops. The valley below is not empty archaeological ground. The surrounding county remains a center of China's Pamiri Tajik communities, including speakers of Sarikoli and Wakhi. Music, food, pastoral work, language, faith, and seasonal movement define the modern region. They do not prove every story attached to the ancient fortress. New highways move more traffic through Tashkurgan, but they confirm the old logic. Travel still follows terrain visible from the hill. The walls mattered because travelers had choices only until the mountains took them away. The red stone below Sichuan's highest mountain is not truly red stone. Much of its color is alive. Across elevations from roughly 2,000 to nearly 4,000 meters, filamentous green algae of the genus Trentipolia coat exposed boulders in the Hailuogu Valley. Chlorophyll remains present, but carotenoid pigments mask the green with orange and crimson. Those pigments also help shield the organism from intense light and ultraviolet exposure. Its habitat depends on a narrow balance: cool air, monsoon moisture, cloud, mist, rain, spray, and glacial meltwater. Remove that balance, and the color weakens. The rock must stay damp often enough to support growth, but not permanently submerged. That boundary turns the shoal into a biological field, not mineral paint. Color therefore shifts with season, sunlight, moisture, colony health, and viewing angle. Neighboring boulders can differ sharply because drainage and exposure change within a few steps. The explanation is documented, yet the result remains remarkable. Its narrow biological limits make the living mechanism measurable without making it less strange. It is also fragile. A rock that is removed, overturned, scrubbed, or handled repeatedly can dry. Once the colony fails, the bright surface fades. Human disturbance is only one pressure. Streams, floods, and moving slopes continually rearrange the shoal, uncovering fresh surfaces and burying established growth. Here the question widens from what the color is to what keeps it alive. Ice feeds meltwater, water crosses forest and boulder fields, and moisture sustains the algae. The glacier and red rock spectacle depends on that chain remaining intact. Two medieval brick towers occupy summits that now offer almost no room to stand, let alone build. Southwest of Chengde, each tower crowns an isolated rock pillar, and architectural evidence places both around the 10th century Liao period. The rock explains the height. Erosion removed weaker material and left harder cores with narrow tops, fractured faces, and nearly vertical sides. The towers are not twins. Differences in scale and detail point toward separate functions or building episodes, while no surviving inscription identifies a patron. One conclusion is secure. They predate Chengde's later prominence as a Qing imperial retreat. What remains unknown is how medieval crews turned those cramped summits into work sites. Every brick had to rise. So did mortar ingredients, water, timber, tools, and the workers who assembled them with almost no staging ground. A compact tower still required repeated climbs and a secure way to stop loads from slipping. This was not one spectacular lift, but disciplined labor repeated until masonry held. Scaffolds lashed to the rock, ropes, temporary ladders, or a natural ledge could have provided access. Each is plausible. None has been confirmed. Time has altered the problem itself. Frost, rain, wind, and rock failure may have erased footholds and made the pillars harder to reach than they were during construction. That gap invited a later story. The Qianlong Emperor supposedly ordered a wooden ladder raised to one summit. Climbers were said to find straw sandals, an incense burner, and other objects. These details come from folklore, not a verified excavation record. They reveal imperial curiosity in the popular imagination, but they cannot identify the builders or their purpose. The brickwork preserves the achievement and erases the method. Crews solved the ascent, but their temporary access vanished. At Qingtongxia, certainty begins with a count, 108 monuments, and weakens when that number is asked to explain itself. Set above the Yellow River in Ningxia, the stupas occupy 12 rows. One crowns the top, and each rank broadens below into a vast triangle. Their origins are linked to Western Xia rule from the 11th to early 13th century. Later repairs changed the surfaces now visible. The shape is hard evidence. The complete ritual program is not. In Buddhist traditions, 108 often counts the afflictions, attachments, or forms of ignorance to overcome. Prayer beads repeat that same discipline. Yet no secure account proves that every Rao served one exact symbolic plan. That restraint matters as much as the mystery. These were not halls built for congregations. The solid stupas could embody teachings, commemorate religious acts, generate merit, or mark sacred objects and traditions. Their position added practical force. The river corridor carried travelers, farmers, officials, soldiers, and goods through dry country, where movement depended on water and narrow routes. Local tradition says the group guarded people from river danger. The belief remains powerful, but its precise origin is uncertain. Sand scours the fabric, temperature swings, rain entering cracks, and erosion inside earthen or brick cores force repeated conservation. Dams, reservoirs, roads, and irrigation have remade the river below. Yet the ranks still bind Buddhist number, Western Xia history, and an old transport corridor into one engineered statement. The monuments deserve fascination. The river protection story deserves discipline. At Qingtongxia, evidence does not erase mystery. It gives mystery a firm boundary. An entire kingdom was stacked vertically on a ridge, where each climb strengthened defense and control. Near Tsaparang in western Tibet, The ruins rise about 300 meters above the valleys, at an elevation approaching 4,000 meters. Around the 10th century, Guge emerged after the Tibetan Empire fragmented. Its builders turned exposed earth into a vertical settlement. Caves, homes, workshops, stores, and defensive positions occupied the lower and middle slopes. Temples and palatial compounds commanded the heights. Narrow paths, stairways, tunnels, and controlled entrances joined these zones. Daily movement was hard, but an outside force faced the same climb under tighter control. The ridge did not mean isolation. Guge connected routes toward Ladakh, Kashmir, Nepal, and the wider Himalayan world. Inside the Red Temple, the White Temple, and other sacred rooms, mineral pigments and gilding preserve a map of contact. The Buddhist figures, mandalas, donors, textiles, and ornament carry Tibetan, Kashmiri, Indian, and Central Asian influence. Yet workable earth also leaves the ruins exposed. Wind strips the ridge. Rare, heavy rain weakens walls and raises the risk of collapse. Guge's political power ended amid internal conflict and a Ladakhi invasion in the 17th century. I find that record harsh enough without adding a supernatural ending. The famous claim that 100,000 inhabitants vanished at once is not supported by the settlement's scale or its archaeological record. Population decline, military pressure, displacement, and the collapse of political authority provide a firmer explanation for the empty ridge. Evidence from some caves is generally linked to Guge's final upheaval, later disturbance, or exposure, not proof of an unexplained mass disappearance. The stronger monument is physical, a settlement cut into earth and guarded by the climb. From roughly the 3rd to the 8th century, workers near Kucha turned a sandstone cliff above the Muzat River into China's earliest major Buddhist cave complex. These were not random hollows. Monastic cells, worship halls, and central pillar caves turned sandstone into a disciplined structure for study, devotion, and repeated movement. In the pillar caves, a rock core directed the ritual path around it. Each turn exposed another scene, so architecture controlled the order of encounter. Barrel-vaulted ceilings carried diamond-shaped panels of sermons, musicians, donors, and earlier lives of the Buddha. Strong reds, greens, and blues came from mineral pigments, some linked to exchange over great distances. The hard evidence is physical: cut stone, plaster, pigment, and a route defined by the rock core. Together they place Kucha inside a multilingual corridor where monks, merchants, texts, and artistic methods met. I find that record stronger than any tale attached later. Kizil needs no inflated claim. Its engineering already shows how belief was organized inside a cliff. When local Buddhism receded, regular use weakened. Erosion, smoke, human interference, and removal then stripped context from paintings that had survived for centuries. In the early 20th century, Foreign expeditions photographed and copied the caves, but also cut mural sections from the walls and carried them to European collections. Removing a selected image sent it abroad while breaking its larger narrative at Kizil. The fragments now sit apart from the roots and scenes that once gave them meaning. Today, salts lift pigment and weak sandstone fractures, so restricted access answers a physical threat. Every fragment lost takes part of a route, not just an image, with it. Each flood season, the Yangtze tests a medieval pavilion anchored to a reef at Ezhou. Built on Longpanji Reef at Ezhou, its origins reach the 14th century, yet summer floods can swallow the entire lower level. Its first defense is not mystery. It is geometry cut into stone. The foundation forms the bow of a ship and points upstream, dividing the current and guiding floating debris around the walls. A compact footprint gives the river less surface to hit. The natural reef carries the structure below, while heavy masonry holds the narrow mass together. In low water, the reef and foundation emerge. In flood season, that same footing disappears beneath a faster, heavier river. During the major Yangtze floods of 1998 and 2020, muddy water covered the lower structure, while the upper pavilion remained above the current. That image can feed a miracle story, but survival did not mean escape from damage. The river withdrew and left sediment, branches, rubbish, and trapped moisture. Then human endurance took over. Workers approached by boat, cleared the mud, dried the rooms, checked masonry joints, and repaired weak timber and plaster. This labor rarely appears in legends, although it is one reason the pavilion stands. I find that record more compelling than any claim of invulnerability. Dedicated to Guanyin, the Buddhist figure of compassion, the building has served as a religious site and a fixed river landmark. Its title, the first pavilion of the Yangtze, suggests a single ancient survivor. The fabric says otherwise. Masonry, roofs, plaster, and timber carry several eras of rebuilding. When the water falls, the explanation comes back into view. Reef, upstream pointing base, compact walls, and workers returning to repair them. An ancient palace survives here without a palace that archaeology can securely identify. Across the upper Sutlej Valley of western Tibet, chambers, passages, and earthen ruins record repeated occupation, not one confirmed royal capital. The name Khyunglung Ngulkhar is commonly rendered as the Silver Palace of the Garuda Valley. The Kyung, a sacred bird, carries deep weight in Bon and Tibetan religious imagery. Tibetan historical traditions connect this valley to Zhangjung, a kingdom that preceded the Tibetan Empire and influenced the Bon tradition. Archaeology is more restrained. The ground holds several phases, and comprehensive excavation has not settled who occupied each space. The builders cut niches, rooms, and storage-like cavities into pale sedimentary cliffs. That material yielded to tools, but it also fractures under wind, rain, and winter freezing. Above them, stone and earthworks occupied terraces with long sightlines across the valley. Height reduced exposure to approach, yet forced every load of food, fuel, and building material uphill. The rooms may have served domestic, defensive, ritual, or storage roles. Their broken walls no longer separate those uses cleanly, so confident labels outrun the evidence. One physical advantage cuts through the uncertainty. Nearby hot springs, concentrated warm water in a land of thin air, severe cold, scarce fuel, and punishing distance. Their historical use remains unproven. But warm water helps explain why groups returned to a valley that imposed such hard terms. Remoteness protected Khyunglung from heavy modern development. It also slowed excavation and stabilization, while freeze-thaw cycles widened cracks and stripped away layers that might answer the oldest questions. The unresolved question is not whether people built here, but when the Silver Palace entered the story. An old wall can prove that builders mastered weight, water, height, and weak rock. It cannot, by itself, confirm every story later attached to it. That distinction matters more as roads, restoration, tourism, and digital images reshape remote heritage. Repairs can protect a chamber while blurring its original fabric. A dramatic label can draw support while outrunning the record. I reach a firm conclusion. Doubt does not diminish these places. It protects their real achievement from easy invention. China's caves, cliff structures, and secluded ruins belong to documented history and living tradition. But those claims need different standards. Their power lies not in forcing certainty. It lies in preserving the stone, testing the record, and allowing unresolved evidence to remain unresolved for future generations. If careful evidence can deepen mystery rather than erase it, continue with the next investigation into places where engineering survives, legends endure, and the record still resists an easy answer.